What's up guys, it's KingXF and welcome back to another video. Today, I'm going to be RGB-ifying my gaming PC. I've been plotting for this for a really long time now, and today's the day that we finally get to do it. But before we get started, if you want to join my official channel Discord server, you can go ahead and do that by clicking on the first link in the description. By doing so, you can stay up to date with what's going on in my channel, as well as some exclusive giveaways in the future. Anyway, I have here with me some RGB PC parts, but the thing about my motherboard is that it doesn't have any RGB headers. So you may be wondering, how are you going to RGB-ify your PC then? That's when this little thing comes into play. This is the XSPC ARGB controller, which utilizes SATA power and transforms it into 3-pin ARGB. Without this thing, this whole project would basically be undoable. Anyway, we then connect this to the 12-way ARGB hub, which will yield us even more ports to add RGB. Quick note about this, you actually need to connect one of the ports to the ARGB controller in order for this to actually work, so that's why I've added the extra provided pins the controller came with. And so really, you only have 11 RGB devices at max, but that's still plenty for me. Then this thing here is the Deepcool FH04 PWM fan hub. I only need 4 slots because the fans on my AIO are already daisy chained into a single connector, which then leaves room for 3 more fans individually. I don't plan on adding any more fans than this, so it works out just fine. Moving over to the actual RGB components I'll be adding, first we got the Fantex Halo Slux Digital RGB fan frames. The fans on my AIO are non-RGB as you can see, but they have pretty good airflow at 99 CFM. I really don't want to swap them out for RGB fans because most 120mm RGB fans won't have that high a CFM. Anyway, what this does is basically attach this over a fan, connect them to an RGB hub, and it'll basically make a non-RGB fan have RGB. Since these fans are white, it'll accentuate the light even more. Next thing we got here is an RGB SSD heatsink. The Intel 660p 1TB drive I added to my rig last year never had a heatsink. So now that I'm about to RGB-ify my whole system, I felt like the SSD would look better if it were covered, obviously with some RGB as well. Then we got a 3-pack of Fractal Design Prisma AL14 PWM fans, which I've chosen because they got super high airflow at about 104 CFM and also a relatively high static pressure of 2.38 with a noise level of about 34 decibels. I'll first have to remove the stock fans on my case, however, which will be a bit of a pain because the connector they're connected to is super tight and super difficult to disconnect from, so it'll take me a while. Lastly, we have here my new RAM, 32GB of G.Skill Trident Z Royal at 3200 MHz and CAS latency 14 in a 4x8GB stick array. These speeds are guaranteed to have low latency, and now I can utilize dual channel memory as well. The current RAM I have is this ugly looking single 16GB stick from Crucial at 2400 MHz and CAS latency 17, so this will definitely be a huge upgrade. Anyway, now that I've showed off and explained all the hardware I'm using for this upgrade, I'll go ahead and cut into a time lapse of the upgrade process itself. Alright, so I finally finished upgrading it, and now my PC looks like this. I'll say it really was a fun process, and I immensely enjoyed doing it, though at the same time it was kind of frustrating. One part was installing the new fans. I just somehow couldn't get the screws to line up with the fan mounts, hence why I did not include the installation of those in the time-lapse. Another thing I encountered was the fact that my boot drive got unplugged in the process, so when I first booted up I couldn't load into Windows, so once I discovered that was the reason, I quickly fixed it and got it back up and running in no time. Personally, I think it turned out to be great, and not only does my system now look better and run faster, but I'll also be achieving more FPS in game, because I'm sure we all know that more RGB equals more FPS. Anyway, that'll wrap it up for the RGB-ifying of my gaming PC. As always, links for the products that were used will be provided down below. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up to show your support, hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, and ring the notification bell so you won't miss out on any of my future videos. Be sure to join my Discord server. I'm KingXF, and I'll see y'all next time.